Break free. Let's break free from stress by embracing the flow. This evening's lesson is drawn from the meditation manual I'm currently writing, Easy Enlightenment. The sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is classically translated into English as right effort. But that seems it seems to say more about the translators than it does about the Buddha's teachings. For the phrase right effort smacks of being rigid and fearful and controlling and exhausting and burdensome, which stands in contrast to the Buddha's teachings. For the third of seven enlightenment factors is energy, and the fourth of seven enlightenment factors is joy. So anything that undermines our energy and our joy is not in harmony with the Buddha's teachings. Those are important litmus tests, if you ask me. And let's face it, we'd rather than be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. I'm sure most of us have turned to meditation because we want to be more flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Born in the summer of 1965, as a very little boy, I imprinted on sixth grade hippie girls. These were individuals who were far too young to have fallen prey to the addiction of illicit substances. So in other words, in my mind, I'm often guided by the archetype of a straight-edge hippie girl. My greatest insights come from her. So I prefer to think of right effort in terms of the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. Now you might say, "Oh, that sounds like Taoism, you dirty hippie." Why, thank you. So yes, that does sound like Taoism, but did you know that the yin and yang also found its way into the early dissemination of the Buddha's teachings? After all, yang was depicted by the Buddha's wicked cousin Devadatta. And yin was depicted by the Buddha himself. So let us explore always. Let us bring this back to the lens of neuroscience, shall we? Actually, that's probably not correct. Let me put it another way. Let's look at it through a different lens, the lens of iconography. Ah, yes, that's the ticket. Consider, if you will, the behavior of this gal, the color of a cumulus cloud, who appears to be actively sporting or actively delighted in tantric union. This reminds us that contrivance is always trumped by spontaneity. Now, when we take a look at our partner, the color of the azure sky, he appears to be passively savoring the same tantric union. This reminds us that not all spontaneity is created equal, and the scattered spontaneity one might experience after their third espresso in 20 minutes will always be trumped by the centered spontaneity generated by the consistent and correct practice of mindfulness as well as meditation. In fact, it could be argued that when our choices, utterances, and deeds characteristically flow from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, then our life can be as blissful as a real or imagined paradise as depicted in Buddhist art. I do look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. This evening, let's play with Kind Gaze's Easy Meditation. Who is this kind gaze? Described in Sanskrit as Avalokiteshvara and described in Tibet as Chain Rei Zig. Those who have the misfortune of being indoctrinated into being rigid, fearful, controlling, and superstitious will view this as an entity to be worshipped and then supplicated. However, those of us who are lucky enough to have been taught to be flexible, loving, laid back, and rational will simply view Kind Gaze as an archetype of enlightened compassion whose iconography reminds us that we are already wired to master, no less practice, awareness and letting go, love and letting go, as well as bliss and letting go. Like cooking pancakes on a Saturday morning, we are going to flip-flop between mantra meditation and silent meditation. Therefore, I think it prudent to chant a reminder of the meaning of the mantra. Please join me. Om, I invoke the wish of healing, money, jewel of love, and the purifying baby lotus of letting go. Supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. If I just mention rational and I put my hands in the puckered palm position in front of my chest, what's that about? Doing so helps to center subtle electromagnetic phenomena that we could feel or imagine within our bodies. This evening's first exercise under the category or under the heading of bliss and letting go is known in Tibet as the Lama Khyentse and is described in English as calling the teacher as from afar. The bronze reminds us of our enlightened potential. The ruby-colored couple sporting in tantric union literally reminds us of sensations we might feel on or above our crown of our head, and figuratively reminds us of the teachings themselves. Now, what is the secret? What is the philosopher's stone to transform the lead of superstitious mantra recitation into the gold of spiritually protective mantra meditation? It is twofold. During our in-breath, we could silently and mentally and passively recite this italicized bit. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can, while verbally chanting these 6 syllables 8 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As Morticia Adams said to Gomez, do not torture yourself, that's my job. So I say to you, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Never fear, play with this mantra for 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. And within a week or so, and within 5 to 10 days, you can master this mantra. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us play with our first of 4 steps to the mastery of mindfulness and meditation. As we inhale, as we notice our body inhaling, let us silently and mentally recite the rather ungainly 4-syllable recitation or observation, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. Likewise, when we notice our body exhaling, let us silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Now, I'd like to do this for 16 rounds, assuming that a round is 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. But I'm breathing really quickly because I'm doing all this talking. And in the time it takes me to do 16, you might only knock off 8 or maybe 12 rounds, which is fine. But of course, this begs the question, how does a bloke count to 16 on just 4 fingers and 1 thumb? Here's the secret. During the inhalation, we advance the left thumb. During the exhalation, we trace both sets of creases as well as tips. Let's practice together. Let us turn our attention to the outer set of preliminary practices. Or if I was more creative, if I was a better geek, I would say, let us explore the outer set of preliminary practices from a certain point of view. Let us exercise the vulnerability to notice others' stress, that we might sow the seeds of even deeper empathy. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. When at last you have grown comfortable with the recitation of the six-syllable mantra, here is a subtle variation, a subtle nuance you might enjoy. Instead of concentrating, let us gently rest our eyes, our gaze, if you will, upon the only italicized word comprised exclusively of capital letters. You might find this increases the meaning of the exercise. Rather than allow ourselves to be cowed by the specter of death, by the specter of karma and its punitive ways, let us look at interdependence as our opportunity to lighten others' loads. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let's see, we are on page 17, are we not? I'm going to try something real quick. Please bear with me. I'm going to open up another file. And let's go to page 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's weird. I wasn't expecting that. Oh well, let's give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, here we go. One moment, insert, and let's find a really cute image of the Buddha with the cat. Let's go to pictures and Buddhist yoga and Buddha bowing and look for solitary Buddha. Let's scroll up and look for kitty cat. Let's add buzz. Okay. And now for the spiel. Oh God, look what I did. I forgot to adjust the software. I think I'll do that right now. Okay, so here's how it works. During our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite an italicized bit. During our exhalation, we relax as best we can while striving to chant this 12-syllable mantra 4 times per breath. Rather than being bullied by the specter of the inevitability of death, let us view impermanence as that which makes of grasping an absurdity. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa. Rather than neurotically trying to make the most of every precious opportunity to meditate, how much wiser could it be to simply go with the flow and practice the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity? Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esawa. Having chanted a mantra 16 times, let us rest in awareness and letting go. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite sitting tall, reminding our body to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. Now, this is not a contrivance, nor is it an affirmation, for we are already wired during every exhalation to access the parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region, which in fact has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Let us explore the inner set of preliminary practices from the perspective of the late Tibetan Buddhist yogi Dza Paltrul Rinpoche's final meditation manual, The Heart Treasure of the Enlightenments. Let us cultivate the enthusiastic love that wishes to liberate all beings from the toxic tyranny of forever hating and craving and clinging. known metaphorically as the three mental poisons. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As noble as our aspirations might be, they're insufficient. We have to actually master the teachings, and to do that, it's easiest to simply rely upon the Buddha's example and instructions and students. Those three things are known metaphorically as the three wish-fulfilling jewels. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. One of the most efficient ways to squander our time and our energy and just shipwreck our relationships is to be a defensive dickhead. I don't recommend that. Instead, let us enthusiastically learn from all our numerous mistakes. Om muni muni ma muni yesuwa, om muni muni ma muni yesuwa, om muni muni ma muni yesuwa, om muni muni ma muni yesuwa. We are wired to fear death as a survival mechanism. And our evolution has supported our surviving. It hasn't supported our thriving. That's why we meditate. So to be a little bit less neurotic about the inevitability of death, let us explore what it could be like if at the moment of death we had the wherewithal and the circumstances to coalesce our energies into our mind, at our heart, and then for it to shoot like an arrow up our central channel, out our crown, and into the heart of the teacher. Metaphorically, the ultimate teacher is simply the mastery of awareness and letting go. And from this mastery, we could view our now forsaken cadaver and possessions as good for only one thing: the benefit of others. Om muni muni ma muni yesuwa, om muni muni ma muni yesuwa, om muni muni ma muni yesuwa, om muni muni ma muni yesuwa. Having chanted the 12-syllable mantra 16 times, let us further train in awareness and letting go. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, notice this. Doing so is not a contrivance. For in every inhalation, we are wired to effortlessly and automatically access our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. And it has evolved to neither support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Well, then what has it evolved to do? It has evolved to perceive, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. By silently and mentally reciting, notice this as we breathe in, we are helping our 3-pound supercomputer between our ears to harmonize with the sympathetic nervous system. By silently and mentally reciting the 3-syllable verb relaxing during our exhalation, we're helping the same brain to harmonize with our parasympathetic nervous system. Instead of fight it. We come to this evening's third exercise of bliss and letting go, described in Sanskrit as Guru Yoga and in Tibetan as Lama Naljor. This brass figure represents the neurology of our own enlightened potential. This crimson couple sporting a tantric union reminds us literally of sensations and figuratively of the teachings. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa 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 Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa 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 Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. And now let us practice the three-syllable version of awareness and letting go. During our inhalation, let us kick back and watch the antics of mind as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, let us physically relax into the non-graspable nature of mind as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb is. Then climb to the contemplative cruising altitude. Together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. Having passed through our tantric preliminary practices, let us now bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized and jealousy that is leapt over. During our next 8 exercises, our job is not to actively visualize or believe or emote or try to work magic like Gandalf the Grey. All we're going to do is play with specific words in a way that will help us to exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy. Let us lovingly wish that each mind of each being now possessed the enlightened wisdom of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a one-syllable mantra, also known as a seed mantra or bija. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni. Oopsie, got a little carried away. Let's go back and move forward. As we use our speech to chant a mantra, let us lovingly wish that all others use their speech in the most loving way, symbolized by a real or imagined mantra. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we sit here, using our bodies to meditate, both verbally and silently, let us wish that all others' experience of their bodies be as healthy as the archetypes of enlightenment or yidams depicted in Buddhist statuary. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we use our environments that are relatively safe and relatively comfortable to meditate, let us wish that all others' experience of their environments be as fortunate and as safe as the real or imagined paradises or pure lands or vatis depicted in Buddhist painting. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. Let us view letting go through a philosophical lens, as we bring the illusion of the horizontal duality of us and them into the dance of impermanence and interdependence known as Madhyamaka's yoga of inconceivability. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, May our experience of all circumstances, may we experience all circumstances as being so impermanent that they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could interdependently absorb into our body. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, may we experience all bodies or forms of all beings as if they were so impermanent that they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could interdependently absorb into our speech, our mantra-laden speech. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, may we experience the communication of each being as if it was so impermanent that it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could interdependently absorb into our awareness. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, may we experience each mind of each being as being so impermanent that it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could interdependently absorb into a vast, empty void. Kind of like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, though tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. Let us bring the 5 body regions into the path of bliss and letting go. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, may whatever lower abdomen we might have experienced during our inhalation begin to feel as if it was as if it was as non-graspable as real or imagined Amoghasiddhi, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever navel region we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Ratna Sambhava and consort, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever chest we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Akshobhya Yabhyam, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever throat we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amitabha Yabhyam, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever crown or scalp or top of our head we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Vairochana Yabhyam, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesawa. Let us bring the 5 aggregates into the path of awareness and letting go. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever body or form we might have noticed during our inhalation can begin to feel rather non-graspable. Whoops, look what I forgot to do. Sorry, guys. Let's do a quick silent meditation. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever sensations, such as pleasure or pain, we might have noticed during our inhalation, could begin to feel as non-graspable, as real or imagined Ratna Sambhava Yabhyam of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever appraisal of sensations we experience, as strong or middling or weak, can begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amitabha Yabhyam, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever impulses we might have experienced during our previous inhalation can now feel as non-graspable, as real or imagined, amoga siddhi yabhyam, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever awareness we might have experienced during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable, as real or imagined alma, akshobhya karma mudra, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa. And now let us rest in awareness and letting go. Let us bring the 5 thoughts into the path of awareness and letting go. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever emotions we might have experienced during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable, as real or imagined, akshobhya karma mudra comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever intention we might have experienced during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined, Ratnasambhava comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever thoughts we might have perceived during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amitabha, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever memory we might have recalled during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined, Moghasiddhi, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa. As we physically relax into the verbal recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, whatever we might have imagined during our previous inhalation can now begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined, Vairocana, comprised only of light. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yeswa. Let us transcend the illusion of samsara and nirvana's vertical duality by metaphorically inviting all the real or imagined Buddhas, their paradises, and their denizens to dwell in the 84,000 pores of our skin, as practicing the body mandala of duality's awareness and non-duality's release. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa 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 Let us bring the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into this. That begs the question, what is this? This is whatever we notice during our inhalation. And this is whatever we notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. This is whatever we notice, be it a sight, a sound, a sensation, a flavor, a scent, or the like. This is whatever we notice, whether it is an emotion, an intention, a thought, a memory, or an imagining. Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Yesuwa 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 Om Muni Muni Ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Om muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Om muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Om muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Om muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Om muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Om muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa om, muni muni ma muni esawa. Let us seal this evening's practice with a love that wishes for the universal mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all master change in wishing love as well as kind communication, conduct, and calmness. May all master the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity as well as mindfulness and meditation. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.